Hi everyone, happy Easter. I'm just going to share a few thoughts about Good Friday and what happened on that day. So today is Good Friday, and you may well ask, what is so good about it? Because at the moment it's a bit of a strange time. The world is on lockdown. People are struggling and suffering, and people are dying from this hideous virus. And no one is allowed to go out. We can't visit our families. We can't go for an afternoon picnic in the park. So what is so good about this Friday? Well, today is a good day because it is a day that we remember. It's a day when we stop and we pause and we take time to remember a Friday that was unlike any other Friday. It too was a day that was filled with sorrow and suffering. It was a time when blood was poured out, and it was a time that would have looked like evil ruled the day. Today is a day when we turn and look to the cross, a day when we remember all that was accomplished there. Growing up, if someone had asked me who Jesus was, I would have said he was a man who wore a long white dress. I would have said he wore those freaky sandals that Christians are so very famous for. I would have said he had long hair and a brown beard, and I would have said he was quite weak because they killed him on the cross, didn't they? I realise now that's not who Jesus is, and Jesus is the image of the invisible God. And so if you would like to know what God is like, look at the life of Jesus. And so what was he like? Well, he was beautiful. He was kinder than the kindest person you know. He spoke truth. He had no time for false religion. He was full of love and compassion and grace. He was humble, and yet at the same time he was the highest power and authority in the entire universe because he was the Son of God. The cross was not something that was done to Jesus. He was not killed on the cross. The cross was something he chose to do. It was the reason for his time on planet Earth. He was God's rescue mission for all mankind. And if we all stand at the foot of the cross, we would all stand on level ground. There is none higher than the other, none better than the other. Because we have all sinned, we have all messed up, we all do stuff that we shouldn't do, every single one of us. That's what we do as human beings. We may sometimes wish we hadn't, but we do. And the cross is a place where all that sin was poured into him. All our greed, all our lies, our malice, our hate, our selfishness, our jealousy, our bad words, deeds and actions, they were all poured into him. And he soaked them up like blotting paper. He took the lot. He took the lot for every single man, woman and child on planet Earth. And why did he do it? He did it because he loves. He loves and he loves and he loves with an everlasting, unconditional love. The motive behind the cross was love. And every chain is broken with this love. A new life begins with this love. He made a way for us to come to God the Father and to stand before him and hear him pronounce us not guilty. What Jesus did on the cross stands above time. It stands above lockdown. It stands above the coronavirus. It stands above the words and thoughts and actions of all mankind. The cross stands above it all. The cross is the gateway to life, life everlasting, a life of fullness, life for all eternity. This place of sorrow and suffering, which was borne on our behalf by God himself, it brings us freedom. It brings freedom to human beings. The cross stands in the middle of time and history, and because of it, life will never be the same for those who choose to follow Jesus. It is the mercy of God. As Jesus hung on the cross, it says in the Bible that darkness filled the land. It was the middle of the day, but it was dark. The powers of darkness surrounded him. They thought that they had overcome the beloved of heaven. They thought that the Messiah had been crushed, that God's rescue plan had failed. The powers of darkness came over the land and they surrounded him like a cloak. And the Prince of Peace, he breathed his last breath and cried, "It is finished." This was not a cry of defeat. No, it was not. This was a cry of absolute victory. This was a victory cry. It is finished. Even before he is risen from the dead on Easter Sunday, Jesus confirms that his work is done. It is finished. The victory is sealed. His monumental death in the history of the world overcame the powers of darkness once for all time. All the sin, all the wrongdoing, all the bad stuff that human beings have done was paid for once and for all, accounts settled. The cross is the victory of all victories. It is the triumph of all triumphs. It is the hour that the foundations of hell were shaken and will continue to be shaken until the end of time. No longer will the human race live in darkness. No longer will the human race live in the shadow and the fear of death and all that follows. No longer, because a light has dawned on all mankind. And this light is brighter than any light that this world has ever seen, because this light is the light of the world and his name is Jesus. His life is a life that changed history forever. The almighty, triumphant, victorious Son of the living God, the risen Lord, the one who was and is to come. For he who the Son sets free is free indeed. And so, today is a good day. It is Good Friday. And what happened on this particular Friday, well, it changes everything. There is much to be thankful for. Life at the moment, it may not be easy. The world is at war with an invisible enemy in the form of a virus. We are in the midst of tests and trials. There is pain and suffering. There is sorrow and sadness and grief. But there are also lovely things. Lovely things are happening. Precious conversations, fun times, smiles, laughs. There is beauty in creation for us to enjoy, be that once a day. There is friendship and kindness, human beings caring for one another. There are doctors and nurses risking their own lives to care for the sick. There are shop workers serving the community. Random acts of kindness are happening in unlikely places. And the Son of God who died on the cross, he is absolutely with us in this. He knows what it is to suffer, and he knows what it is to love. Because on the cross, on that Good Friday, he suffered in the ultimate act of love for all humanity. Happy Good Friday, everyone.